This summer, we saw record-breaking heat across the UK, with temperatures soaring to over 40 degrees for the first time ever. Whilst many of us struggled through the heat waves, droughts and the hosepipe bans, some of us actually benefited from this hot weather. Vineyards across Britain are now seeing their climate comparable to the Champagne region in France from the 1970s and the 1980s. And in less than 20 years, we could be seeing our climate more comparable to southern France, opening up the window of opportunities for all the different types of wines that we could be producing. I've come to Fairmile Vineyard in Henley-on-Thames in Oxfordshire to find out how this summer has impacted their harvest. So I'm here today at Fairmile Vineyard with Jan, who is the owner of this vineyard, and it's obviously been a long, hot summer, and I'm wondering if you've seen any impact in the harvest this year in comparison to previous summers.
Oh yes, absolutely, Tamsin, without a shadow of doubt. Our buds opened in April, as they always do. By some miracle, there was no frost in May, so the buds escaped unscathed, and we had that mini heat wave at Easter, so the grapes got off to a flying start, and then of course we had that scorching heat wave where not very far from here, the temperature went over 40 degrees centigrade. So in fact, our grapes ripened about 3 weeks earlier than we'd normally expect them to do.
So did you notice a difference in the taste, the acidity, perhaps that peaked a little bit earlier than you're used to?
Yes, there always is variation, and part of it depends on the previous year's summer as well. How stressed or unstressed the vines were, that will affect this year's growth. Yes, without doubt, we grew some fabulous grapes in marvellous flavours, sugars, acids, and they were completely free from disease.
And sparkling wines are the predominant wine in England. Why is that?
You're right, Tamsin. About 90% of new plantings are the sparkling wine varieties because we're getting really good at it. So at long, long last, it's just possible to ripen up the 3 champagne varieties of grapes, which is Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier and Chardonnay.
So, question on everyone's lips, are we giving champagne a run for its money?
I would say so, but the proof of the pudding has to be in the eating. And we do still have a few bunches of grapes that were left behind after the harvest, so why don't you come and be my judge? So here we are, Tamsin, in the most sheltered part of the vineyard, surrounded on 3 sides by trees. And you might find it's also a bit warmer up here at the top of the slope because, of course, warm air rises. And for that reason, we decided to plant the Chardonnay up here because of the 3 grape varieties we have. Chardonnay needs a little bit more ripening than the other 2 types. So you could say that this up here is the most productive part of my vineyard.
Yes, we had a lot of warm weather obviously through the summer, and you said that Chardonnay really benefits from those high temperatures. Was it negatively impacted in any way by the drought? No,
not in the slightest. Vines are very famous for putting down deep roots. I mean, here the roots probably go down about 10 metres below the soil, where they suck up the moisture that's held in this lovely chalky, flinty marl. It acts a bit like a sponge holding onto water. So in the same way the trees kept a lovely green canopy throughout the heat wave, the vines weren't at all stressed or affected. They loved it. They were in their element.
And have you always planted Chardonnay in your vineyard? Is that something that you've always been able to do?
I would say if I'd planted 30 years ago, I would have gone for more of a cool climate Germanic style of grape. It's really only been in the last couple of decades that at long last it's possible, and I stress just possible, to ripen up Chardonnay. It's still quite a tricky grape to grow in this country.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's very flavoursome and a lot sweeter than I was expecting. I tell you what, I look forward to seeing that on my shelves in around 5 years. Both the UK and France saw temperatures rise over 40 degrees throughout the summer, with our mean monthly maximum temperatures comparable throughout both July and August. And as a whole, Europe recorded its hottest summer ever on record through summer of 2022. Now, as a result of the warming climate, winemakers are able to produce a wide variety of still and sparkling wines, including Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, which are traditionally more accustomed to France. And in a handful of years, we could be introducing newer varieties such as Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon. So whilst this is good news for winemakers and wine drinkers alike, British vineyards still only cover 1/10 of what Champagne covers. But it certainly sounds like our taste is up for grabs. Now, whilst this is good news, a warming climate could still pose new and different threats in times of extreme weather, like many other places across the world.